Hello and welcome to this overview of iMenu400. My name is Stephen Cheney of SRC Secure Solutions BV. iMenu400 is a software package to organize and secure user access to 5250 applications on the IBM System I. Today I'm going to show you how to use iMenu400 to create and maintain secure access for your System I users. During this overview, I will be referring to my iMenu400 user manual. When iMenu400 is installed on your system, it will be installed complete with two menus. These menus are used for all Menu400 management tasks. We have the i5 style menu, which is Z menu Adam in mnlib, and within iMenu400 we have Z menu own. Both of these menus allow you to access all of these functions, with one exception which I'll cover in a moment. Here is a schematic overview of these options and functions, and you can find this also in your copy of the iMenu400 user manual. This is a screenshot of the Z menu ADM, the i5 type menu in mnlib. You can see that it has options to work with menus, work with users, print, change and work with reference library lists, with RFCs, etc, etc. But you can also see here option 10, change iMenu400 defaults. On Z menu own, option 10 is not available on the standard issue. This is because when you're within iMenu400, you don't really want to be changing the global settings. You can access the global settings either using option 10 from Z menu ADM, or you can call the command from mnlib, and the command is called zchg set change settings. Here you can define a number of global parameters. I'll cover just a few of these in this presentation. The rest, of course, you can look up in the user manual. One important one for today is the menu text exit program. If you put in there mn204r, as it says in the manual, you'll be able to display on the second heading text of a user's menu his most major menu, which is used to call all submenus. This is just to help in the presentation. We can collect statistics, yes or no. We can display empty lines between options. This is all to do with the format of the menu on the user screen. The second page of the settings allows you to define extra sign-off programs, which can be used to control the user's sign-off and make sure he's closed all applications before he disappears. But having said that, iMenu400 does do a number of checks and allows you to let the user check that he wants to sign off before he actually does sign off. An important feature is the list of owners. When iMenu400 is delivered, it's delivered with one owner setting, and that is QSAC offer. You may or may not want to add other user profiles to this list and grant them access to the maintenance functions of iMenu400. Number of columns we'll come back to later, and activate change control, an important feature which we'll also come back to later. So, when you're creating your user environment in iMenu400, you begin by creating one or more menus. These menus can be individual menus with options, or you can, as in this diagram here, embed menus within menus up to 999 levels deep. Creating a menu is quite simple. You just create the menu name, give it a text, and you add an optional library list to that menu. That library list can be an individual library list which is only applicable to this menu, or you can use a reference library list if you want to define one which is used in more than one menu or menu option. When defining a reference library list, or defining a library list for a particular menu, you can see that you can add up to 25 libraries on this list. In a later release of iMenu400, this list will be increased to 250. The most important function for the user within iMenu400 is a menu option. In a menu option, you can execute any command, you can call another menu, you can make the menu text or blank, which is used to neaten up the layout of the menu on the user screen. You can allow this option to create or call another group job, which is very handy if you want to do an inquiry without exiting the current application. A menu option can also contain its own library list or reference library list. An important function is that you can activate and deactivate menus and menu options at certain times during the day when you don't want users to access certain applications. You can also collect statistics of users when they accessed a certain menu and a certain menu option. And an important function is that you authorize users either directly or via reference users to every menu and menu option. Here is a screenshot of the menu option maintenance screen. Of course, a menu option belongs to a particular menu. In this case, it belongs to menu test 1. We give the option a number, a unique number within that menu, and we give it a text description. The command is an optional. We either put in a command or we request a menu, or we make this menu option a line of text in order to format the screen more clearly. If we input a command, this command is called when the user takes this option. When defining this menu option, we can use F4 to prompt the command so that we can enter parameters or elements within the command at the time we define that command. We can also type in the value *yes in the prompt command parameter, and then the user is allowed to input parameters to that command at the time of execution of the option. If we don't enter a command, we can call another iMenu400 menu and go one level deeper in the iMenu400 structure. If we specify *yes in the group job option, if the user is authorized to start new group jobs, executing this option will leave the current job active and start another group job without interrupting the current job. Particularly useful if you want to make quick inquiries without completely exiting your current application. And as mentioned before, at option level you can define a library list, whether this is a reference library list or its own library list and current library. Once you've created a number of options within a number of menus, you need to authorize your users to these options and menus. And to do that, you can do that in two ways. Either you can do this from the menu and from the menu option by typing in option 14 on the Work with Menu Options or Work with Menu screen. If you type in 14, you get a list of users defined on your system. Here we only have 2. And by typing in one of the 3 possible values, you grant or revoke access to that menu and menu option for that user. Option 1 will give him explicit authority to use the menu option in this case. Option 2 will exclude him from using, option 2 will take the authority from one or more reference users, and option 3 will exclude him or prevent him from using this menu option. We can also maintain authority to menus and menu options from within the menu users Here, by going into the Work with Menu User screen and taking option 14 against a username, we will get a list of all the menus and menu options defined in the system, and in this list we can see what authority this user, the user approver in this case, currently has. Note that at this moment this user does not have a reference user allocated. Note also that when a user is created, or when an option is created, the default authority is from a reference user. So in this case, when this user has no reference user, this user has no authority to menu test 1 and the first option within it. If we, however, use option 1 to allow use, we can give this user specific authority to a menu and a number of options within that menu. If we use option 3, the result will be exclusion, in this case, of the authority to use option 7 within menu ZMNUOWN. When we create menu users, we also have the option of directly creating an i5 user profile. Depending on how your company works, you may or may not be authorized to create i5 user profiles. If you allow iMenu400 to create the i5 user profile, it will automatically fill in parameters which will allow that user to go directly into the iMenu400 environment when he signs on, and when he ends iMenu400 he will be automatically signed off. iMenu400 users also have the option of accessing the authority inherited from one or more reference users. And an iMenu400 user needs a begin menu, or the first menu he will access when signing on to iMenu400. If we just look at this screen now, the Z Create menu user screen, you can see here the parameters which are filled in when creating an iMenu400 user. Note here that the default to create the i5 user profile is at no. Change that to yes or to prompt if you want to create the i5 user profile. The begin menu you can take from a list by using F4, and the same goes for reference users. Use F4 to get a list of users defined within iMenu400 and choose one or more of these as reference users from which to inherit authority to access menus and menu options. When we take the Work with Menu Users option from one of the two administration menus, we get a list of all iMenu400 users defined within the iMenu400 system. In this case we have 3. From this screen we can change, copy or delete and authorize iMenu400 users to the iMenu400 options. If you take option 14 on the screen, as we saw before, you can maintain the authority for a particular user. In this next example, if we look at test menu user, you see that he's got more than one reference user, and on this screen we just show the value star multiple, and here you can see that all this user authority is derived from reference users. And if we want to know how that authority is derived, then we can use option 9 against a particular menu or menu option number, and then we see that for this menu ABN AMRO 1, option 1, user test menu has got 2 reference users, and it is reference user ABN AMRO which grants him the authority to use this option. We can also see by displaying the menu user itself who are the reference users behind the star multiple. and also the reports that you can run from iMenu400